ask Andy.
Andy, could you go on to the title slide, please?
I'm there.
I do not see it.
Give me a second. Ask again. Okay, go.
Good afternoon for those in Africa and Europe, and good morning to those in the United States. Today is Wednesday, August 26th, 2020. Today we have many individuals joining us from around the world, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Sudan, South Sudan, Uganda, and Switzerland. We also have many people from across the United States and Canada, coast to coast, including Hawaii. My name is Kyle Thaller, and I am a Spring 2020 U.S. Senate page. Me and 9 other Spring 2020 U.S. Senate pages have been working for the past 3 months on a project to assist the Minister of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan in promoting federalism and mitigating conflict in South Sudan through a project we have been working on. This project is independent from both the U.S. Senate and the U.S. Senate page program. Before I begin, I would like to thank everybody for attending this presentation, including members of not-for-profits, friends, family, and academia. The Spring 2020 U.S. Senate pages are especially thankful for our honored guests from South Sudan, including the Honorable Miss Aya Benjamin Warele, Minister of Gender, Child, and Social Welfare of the Republic of South Sudan, the Honorable Dr. Constantine Gervas Yak, Member of the Council of States of the Republic of South Sudan. Dr. Costa has been my mentor and very good friend for the past 2 years as I assisted with diabetic clinics in South Sudan. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Dr. Costa. Mr. Taban Charles, Acting Undersecretary of the Ministry of Federal Affairs for the Republic of South Sudan. Mr. Sanyangi Wangai, in the Office of the Ministry of Federal Affairs, Republic of the Republic of South Sudan. The Honorable Mr. Lasuba Wango, Minister of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan, and this project's sponsor. Minister Lasuba, we can never thank you enough for this great opportunity. And a very special thanks to His Excellency, Dr. Rick Machar, First Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan. Your Excellency, on behalf of all Spring 2020 U.S. Senate pages, we all thank you so much for attending. It is truly an honor to have you join us today. On the United States side, I would like to thank the following dignitaries. Mr. Joseph Adabo Jr., New York State Senator. Mr. David Weprin, New York State Assemblyman. Mr. LaPlante, Senior Advisor from the Office of Senator Steve Daines, U.S. Senator from the state of Montana. Ms. Khan, Senior Advisor from the Office of Senator Ed Markey, U.S. Senator from the state of Massachusetts. Ms. Zahir, Senior Advisor from the Office of Senator Patty Murray, U.S. Senator from the state of Washington. Mr. Brody, Senior Advisor from the Office of Senator James Inhofe, U.S. Senator from the state of Oklahoma. Ms. Heller, Senior Advisor from the Office of Senator Dianne Feinstein, U.S. Senator from the state of California. It is important to note that we have members of both sides of the political aisle, Democrat and Republican, at this presentation. Thanks so much to all of you for being here. Next, Let me quickly describe the origin of this project. Next slide, please. This project is sponsored and works in cooperation with my own organization, Kyle's Campaigns for Change, or KCC. I founded KCC when I was 14 years old, 2 years after I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was forever prevented from joining the US Navy and achieving my dream of becoming a global leader through being a naval officer. However, I didn't want to give up on my dreams to serve my country and the world. And so I founded KCC in pursuit of humanitarian relief and global impact through public service. KCC has achieved the humanitarian relief goal by donating over $1 million of diabetic supplies to two diabetic clinics in Juba, South Sudan, the Malakia and Gurey clinics, and also one diabetic hospital in Sudan, south of Khartoum, Sudan, the Hasahisa Hospital, and finally the Gulu Clinic in Gulu, Uganda. Although KCC was saving the lives of T1Ds in South Sudan, and Uganda, I wanted to do more and be a leader and have global impact. So I applied and was fortunate enough to be accepted into the US Senate Page program. US Senate Pages are very similar to me, where all of us are driven to make a difference through leadership and public service. I started my tenure as a US Senate Page in January of this past year. Just a month later, South Sudan signed and implemented its revitalized transitional government of national unity and appointed the Honorable Lusuba Wango as the Minister of Federal Affairs. My family has been very close to the minister for the past 4 years, and so I immediately wanted to find a way to assist him. However, as a US Senate Page, I was an employee of the US Senate and was obliged to obey the rules and regulations of the US Senate. This meant that this project had to wait until after the US Senate Page program concluded on June 5th. So, just after June 5th, I asked the minister if me and my fellow Spring 2020 Senate Pages could assist him with promoting federalism. He immediately agreed. I then asked my Spring 2020 US Senate Page classmates, and 9 Spring 2020 pages you see, the 9 Spring 2020 US Senate Pages you see here today enthusiastically agreed. The team you see today includes the smartest and most dedicated high school students I have ever met. We are from both parties, Democrat and Republican. Our team includes the Spring 2020 Senate Pages from both the U.S. Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable Mitch McConnell, as well as the U.S. Senate Minority Leader, the Honorable Charles Schumer. We are represented by both men and women, as well as several races. This team has very different beliefs and personalities among its members, but we are stronger because of our differences. This type of strength is the example and attitude that we want to show to the United States as well as the Republic of South Sudan. A country with vast resources and great potential, so that all of us can be stronger, not in spite of, but because of our differences. So, without further delay, my good friend Hunter will take over from here. Hunter?
Hi. My name is Hunter Teague, and I was a Senate Page from North Carolina, appointed by Senator Richard Burr. And the goal of this project is to assist the Minister of Federal Affairs with the development of federalism, which is the sharing of powers between the national, state, and local governments. And in our goal, we had 4 kind of sub-goals that led us to our overall goal to help the minister mitigate conflict. And these 4 sub-goals consisted of how can a federal form of government maintain unity of a country that is so fragile with strong ethnic affiliation? How can a state with limited resources manage to exist in a federal arrangement? What are the main powers of the federal government in regards to that of the state and countries, and how to educate and inform the citizens of South Sudan that federalism works in favor of the central government as well as the state and local governments. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to my friend Eli.
Thank you. My name is Eli Cole, and I was United States Senate Page under Senator Michael Enzi from Wyoming. Why former Spring 2020 Senate Pages? We were all very highly selected by our senators, as there are only 30 students that are invited to participate each semester. Pages reside in Washington, D.C. and work daily on the Senate floor, and also attend school in the Daniel Webster residence. Every page has a different view on government and legislation due to our time on the Senate floor, and most of the pages in this group are focused on making change in world affairs through politics and service. During our time in Washington and at home, most pages took AP history or government courses, so we have a grasp on federalism. Finally, even though this group of pages has members of both political parties, we are still open-minded, so a joint effort should be fruitful. And now I'd like to pass it on to my friend Mallory.
Hello, I am Mallory Slusher, and today I would like to give some background information on South Sudan to the Americans who are joining us today. South Sudan is roughly a quarter of the size of the United States, and it is currently inhabited by about 11 million people. The president is His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit. The first vice president is His Excellency Riek Machar, and the Minister of Federal Affairs is the Honorable Lusuba Wango. We are so incredibly honored that both could come to this meeting today. There are 35 ministers in all, and they all oversee a different portion of the federal government. There are currently 10 states and 3 administrative areas, and some have primary economic factors like oil, gold, or agriculture. Next slide, please. Today, I would also like to give some background information on how this goal will be achieved. South Sudan had been in civil war for a majority of the past 70 years. As a result, over 2.5 million people had been killed due to the intertribal and ethnic conflict. Several resolutions had been passed, including one signed most recently in February 2020, which was the Revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity. This project focuses on federalism and the Constitution. Federalism as a concept is not well understood in South Sudan, and federalism as a whole is defined as the separation of state and local powers from national powers. We would like to achieve our goal through the adoption, education, and implementation of federalism. The new Constitution will incorporate clarified use of federalism and its foundational theme. I would now like to introduce my friend, Andy.
Hi, so our project was achieved, as Kyle mentioned earlier, through Kyle's campaign for change and working with the Honorable Minister Lusuba Wango, the Minister of Federal Affairs. Now, through Kyle's campaign for change, after our spring 2020 Senate page session, he reached out to all of us, and we were chosen because not only are we from different parts of the country, but we have different beliefs and different interests as well. And so this multifaceted background, which we all bring to the table, will only help to promote federalism within South Sudan. And the different aspects which we speak about and write about in our essays are crucial to ensuring federalism to work within the country of South Sudan. And we were each invited to provide 1 to 5 specific ideas to help promote this idea of federalism to the Minister of Federal Affairs and to the entire government of South Sudan. And while we were originally planning to go to South Sudan to present this project, we unfortunately could not go due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, now I would like to pass it on to my colleague from New York, Mr. Sam Verstandig.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, my name is Sam Verstandig, and like Andy said, I'm from the state of New York, and I had the honor and pleasure to also serve as a spring 2020 U.S. Senate page, and I was appointed by U.S. Senate Minority Leader Senator Charles Schumer. So why is this project important? This project is important because in times of transition, a lot of support is needed. We are here to offer support to the government of the Republic of South Sudan by participating in this project. We can build awareness through our relationships with our U.S. senators to provide support. Next slide, please. So we all divided into different committees and took leading and supporting roles in the project. Next slide, please. So I'd like to thank Dr. Thaller and a former page, Ashley Teague, for their support and guidance throughout the entire project. Next slide, please. So here's a list of everyone's top 10 ideas that will be presented today alphabetically. Next slide, please. And the remaining ideas can be found in the final report. And now I'd like to introduce my good friend, Eli.
Thank you. My name is Elijah Cole, and once again, I was sponsored by Senator Mike Enzi. My idea is for a domestic ambassadors program in South Sudan. Domestic ambassadors will develop relations with the states to act as diplomats in the capital. These diplomats will be an intermediary between their respective communities and the federal government. Through the creation of this program, policy can be created to benefit constituents in each of the ambassadors' home states. As a cooperation ensues, a strengthening of federalism could be foreseen through a greater bond between the states and federal government. Another benefit that could be anticipated would be a greater community involvement in government and potentially higher voter turnout. Lastly, these ambassadors should be educated members of their community. I now would like to pass it on to my fellow page, Peyton.
Thank you. My name is Peyton DeShiel, and I was the Spring 2020 page from Texas appointed by Senator John Cornyn. I wrote my essay advocating for a federalist monetary and taxation policy in South Sudan. When I was a Senate page, I witnessed the profound differences between the economies and interests of each state in the United States. Senators advocated for the interests of their state through what bills and amendments they supported. As Mallory mentioned earlier, South Sudan is a country with a lot of economic variance between the states, whether the interest is gold or oil or agriculture. And I believe a federalist system and taxation would be the best for South Sudan because each eligible citizen would pay into a federal income tax system, and each state could decide what state taxation system is the best for them based on their individual economy. For example, we see this in the US as all citizens are required to pay income tax to the federal government, all eligible citizens, and each state decides differently how to tax their citizens. I live in Texas, and we don't have state income tax, but we have state sales taxes and severance taxes on oil and gas because that's a large industry in Texas. I'd like to pass this on to my fellow page, Andrew Lichtblau.
Thank you, Peyton. Hello, my name is Andrew Lichtblau, and I served as a Senate page from the state of Maryland, appointed by Senator Chris Van Hollen. Today, I'd like to talk about the importance of voter confidence in a federalist system. In a federal system, the elected officials at local, state, and federal governments create strong support systems for citizens that allow them to communicate their concerns directly to the policymakers responsible. Next slide, please. Under a centralized system of government, voters are far removed from the elected officials who enact policies, which creates a divide between the people and their government that harshly affects the trust of the citizens. When a federal system is implemented, however, citizens have a direct line of communication to their government, which is particularly beneficial for civic engagement. More than this, however, local governments are essential sources for the development and presentation of democratic values. Within local governments, we can create and foster democratic values to expand on those at a national level. Focusing on instituting local and state governments within a federal system will create stronger relationships between the people and government, which will thereby improve the function and efficacy of the nation's government. I'd now like to pass the floor to my friend Phoebe McChesney.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Phoebe McChesney, and I served as a Spring 2020 page under Senator Richard Durbin from the state of Illinois. Women are important voices in any conversation, and in South Sudan, women make up about half of the country's population. This is why I support a mandate for women to be represented in state, central, and executive government positions. Next slide, please. To ensure that those appointed and elected are qualified, I believe there should be some all-female ballots where the candidate with the best qualifications may be picked to fill a mandated seat, and that the mandates start at 25% of each body. This mandate would be diminished if the number of female representatives surpasses it, and eradicated if the number of female representatives is proportional to the number of women in the population being represented. As a female Senate page, I was held to the same rigorous educational standards as the males at the page school, and I succeeded because I could read and write just as well. In order to enable women to rise to positions of political authority, female education is a necessity, and cooperation between the government and non-governmental organizations may help girls access school supplies. Young people may also benefit from being required to take and pass a literacy test before finishing their education. If every girl is required to pass this test, she will be eligible to run for office as an adult, and in this way the voices of half of the country's population may be heard and included. Next, I would like to introduce my friend and fellow page, Blake.
Thank you, Phoebe. My name is Blake Simmons, and I was a spring 2020 page serving Oklahoma, appointed through Senator Jim Inhofe. My idea is a Federalist Information Program in South Sudan, and this program would encourage the elected officials and their staff to effectively convey government transparency and information to the citizens of South Sudan. Next slide, please. Working as a Senate page, one of the things I got most familiar with was C-SPAN in the United States, and C-SPAN is a cable satellite public affairs network, and this is a network that helps keep Americans informed by showing what our three branches of government are doing. And South Sudan can use this in their own model by actively showing its citizens what they are doing, and to promote federalism by keeping them educated and informed. And the content you would see on this information program would be coming from South Sudan's national legislature and the Council of States, where they would post their speeches, anything they would like to talk about or discuss, and actively showing their procedures. And because we understand that the entire country does not have access to the internet or the platform to view all of this, each government official would have a staff or volunteer that would go around to their constituency where they serve to show their citizens what their official is doing. And this information program would share the Federalist concepts throughout South Sudan to inspire education, debate, discussion, and through that, reform. Thank you, and I'd like to turn this over to my friend, Mallory.
Hello, I am Mallory Fleischer, and I live in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I was appointed by the U.S. Senate Majority Leader, Senator Mitch McConnell, and my idea is to establish a national voting age in the Constitution. Next slide, please. I was floored when I entered the Senate chamber on my first day. It occurred to me that the government would be the center of my life for the next few months, and it was so interesting that I would be working for senators that I will one day vote for. As young people, we take voting for granted, as we know it's a rite of passage when we turn 18. But this led me to think about the youth who live in South Sudan and the way they vote. The median age in South Sudan is 19 years old. So even a slight variation can lead to an extreme loss of voice for the country as a whole. The United States saw this in 1971 when President Richard Nixon signed the 26th Amendment establishing the voting age for Americans to be 18 years old. This happened because people noticed that young men were being sent to war by politicians they did not vote for due to states setting various voting ages that could span from 18 to 21. Having a clear voting age will ensure all voices are represented, and this will mitigate future problems that could spawn. This is very important because it directly relates to the success of federalism. I would now like to introduce my friend and fellow page, Hunter.
Thank you. My name is Hunter Teague, and I was appointed by Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina. And my idea is to establish lifelong terms for the Supreme Court of South Sudan to ensure the independence of the Supreme Court. Next slide, please. And as a Senate page, I saw the importance of separation of powers of the national government. And in a government with separation of powers, each branch can check and balance each other's power. And I believe that the independence of the judicial branch is very important for a federalist form of government. And lifelong terms would allow Supreme Court justices to vote independently of outside influences. And in Federalist number 76, founding father Alexander Hamilton argued that the complete independence of the courts of justice is peculiarly essential in the limited Constitution. And I agree with that. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to my friend Kyle.
Thank you, Hunter. Hi, I'm Kyle Thaller, and I was a U.S. Senate page for Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. While I was a Senate page, I viewed the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump. And during the trial, one thing that was brought up consistently was the Federalist Papers, which were written by James Madison, John Jay, and Alexander Hamilton, all three of whom were founding fathers of the United States. These essays were written and published to promote federalism for the new Constitution of the United States. My idea would consist of our entire project, all of our essays and ideas being modeled off of these Federalist Papers, but instead be called the Federalist Letters of South Sudan. Next slide, please. These Federalist Letters would be published in South Sudan newspapers and editorials in order to be debated amongst politicians, lawyers, doctors, and academics in South Sudan. They would also then be published anonymously, as the Federalist Papers were, and South Sudan citizens would then be able to debate these ideas and then spread federalism amongst themselves due to being exposed to these ideas of federalism. The essays and ideas would also be read by politicians and then be allowed to be debated on the radio or on talk shows. So then they could debate these ideas amongst each other, and then therefore it could get to a larger body of people. The ideas could be exposed to a larger body of people in the population of South Sudan, and therefore be spread even more so. And that is my idea. So the next slide is going on to my good friend, Andy Vasquez.
Hi, yes. My name is Andy Vasquez. I come from the great state of Illinois, and I'm sponsored by Senator Tammy Duckworth. Now, my idea is to have national elections in South Sudan with an emphasis on a popular vote. Now, my time as a Senate page, one thing I consistently saw, especially early on, were senators having to rush out of the Senate chamber and take phone calls for their campaigns. And this is just their urgency to represent their constituents in the national election for the presidency of the United States shows that this urgency needs to be spread out throughout the world, and especially because we're working within South Sudan for the people of South Sudan. Now, within my essay, I go on and I write about how national elections should be instituted for each level of government, as it is in the United States. However, a key difference between a proposal for South Sudan rather than the United States is that the United States doesn't have a popular election for the President of the United States. However, for the presidency of South Sudan, I highly, highly encouraged that this position would be filled through a popular vote. Now, what this means is that when you put in your vote, the person who you put down is the person whom you want to represent you. And in fact, I believe this kind of system could work not only to promote civic engagement within South Sudan, but to also encourage a multi-party system to emerge, allowing for multiple ideas to be represented, such as how this project also represents multiple ideas from people across our own country as well. However, now I'm going to pass it on to my colleague from New York, Mr. Sam Verstandig.
Hi, my name is Sam Verstandig, and I'm from the state of New York, and I was appointed to the Senate Page Program by Senate Minority Leader Senator Charles Schumer. My proposal is that the Minister of Justice should be independent from the President's cabinet, but should still remain part of the executive branch. In that way, the Minister of Justice can provide oversight of the government. Next slide, please. When I was a Senate page, I stood 5 feet away from all 100 US senators, and I witnessed democracy in action. I saw how some senators voted by their conscience, not by their party. A democracy means that there is a balance of power. The creation of this new Ministry of Justice will bring equity to the nation. It will serve to balance the powers of the government. Specifically for the states, it will safeguard against dishonesty and abuse of power. Checks and balances are the foundation of a democratic nation. By restructuring the Ministry of Justice, it will have a positive and long-term impact on the citizens of the Republic of South Sudan. And now I'd like to turn it back over to my good friend Kyle.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you to all of my fellow Spring 2020 Senate pages. You have all worked so hard and have had so much dedication. I really meant it when I think you're the most amazing high school students I've ever met. Thank you so much for your dedication on this project. And now I'd like to turn it over to Minister Lasuba for comments. Minister? Ask Sam to stop sharing the screen. Andy, also, could you stop sharing the screen so we can see
Got
him?
it.
Also, Andy, could you mute your video? Thank you. Mute. Tell him. Mute. Tell him. Yes, Minister, you're on mute, I believe. Can you tell him again? Can't see you and can't hear you. Minister, we can't see you and we can't hear you. I think you're buffering or something.
Yes, Kyle, can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
But we can't see you.
But we cannot see you. You're frozen.
I think the camera's moved.
I think the camera's moved.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Minister, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay, yes.
And we can now see you.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that's great. Mr. Kyle, I'm so grateful for this great presentation, and I'm so much excited. And I'm sure all the participants who participated knowledge and the ideas that you have shared with us. I wanted to revert back to let you know that the Republic of South Sudan is a vast geographical area with a very huge population, which are ethnically diverse and with very, very rich culture. And the people of South Sudan are divided into states.
Minister,
We know that from one state to another, there are diverse.
And that feedback is, or turn off the phone. Minister, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back with you, yes.
Okay, I think we just had a little bit of a problem. Could one of the participants, Blake, could you speak up and just confirm that everyone is still there? Just say something.
Yes, we're still here.
Minister, please go ahead. We can see you clearly and we can hear you clearly.
Excellent. All right, thanks so much. Sorry for this inconveniences caused by this technology and all that. So I just want to say that we are a diverse community here in South Sudan, and this actually tells you that there are different people with different cultures and ethnic backgrounds. But these differences represent a challenge, as a number of people have already raised that. But these challenges also define South Sudan's potential for greatness. And this is what we think it is important, that it calls for the unity of the country based on a system of government that promotes justice and freedom for the existence of the state as an entity. Since South Sudan is divided into 10 states, we think that it is crystal clear that agreeing to form a government where states and the local government are given constitutional autonomy to manage their affairs is critical, and it is very important to the maintenance of peace, unity, and stability across the country. It's also important to let you Senate pages that the Minister of Federal Affairs is one of the new ministries of the revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity under the provisions of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. And it constitutes an important ministry in the governance cluster, which is mandated to initiate and establish and ensure the implementation of federal and a democratic system of governance that reflects the character of the people of South Sudan. This ministry has a very important function, which is to promote participation of the people in the governance affairs and avail opportunities for the government institutions, both at the national and the state level, to work together harmoniously and also to complement each other. And it's important to highlight at this point that the Minister of Federal Affairs stand for a peaceful, united, and democratic South Sudan under a federal form of government that promotes equitable development for all the people of South Sudan. And we try to create and facilitate an enabling environment for developing and maintaining a federal constitution that guarantees good governance for all the people of South Sudan. This is a very critical ministry, and I'm so happy with the presentations that each one of you have presented today. And the most important, which actually I can recall from all the topics that we've discussed, the domestic ambassadors, for example, it's so great. There are many ideas that I've learned from the presentation, the issues of taxation and the state policies, voter confidence, women participation in the political life, federal information, the voting rights. You also talked about life terms in terms of justice and all that, and then also especially at this stage where we are trying to educate the population to understand the role of federalism and then how it can create unity and prosperity in this country, it's important that we sell out this information. And the idea that you came up with of the Federalist Letters and the discussions in the radios and all that, I think that is so important and so brilliant. You also touched about the issue of popular vote. That I think makes this great in terms of how to balance the powers within states from different angles. And I think that you've really touched very critical and important areas that the people of South Sudan are happy and they'll be embracing that, and they wanted to hear. And this will continue the debate, will actually motivate the people in order to reach the level where we establish, where we enshrine these issues that you have raised into the Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, and then to transition this country to a federal government system. So I thank you so much for the presentation, and I thank all the pages, and particularly Kyle, for organizing us to participate in this Zoom conference. And I also thank all those people who are right now actually attending this Zoom meeting, and particularly the government official in the United States. I really feel honored to be part of this Zoom and to get them participate in this meeting. I thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate the efforts that you have done. And please, I will say that you are already the ambassadors of South Sudan in promoting peace and unity and prosperity for this country. So thank you so much. With this, I will go off, and I think this is the end of this meeting. And I thank you so much for everything that you have done. And I think I will now switch off. And please, I wish you
thank you, Minister.
Development.
Thank you, Minister, for your kind words.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, and we really hope that this will help South Sudan, all of us. So thank you, Minister. I'll sign off too.